Are you looking for that special little extra something for your quilt? Join me today and I'll show you something really nice. Hi, I'm Roberta from Quilt Crafters Corner, and today I want to talk about faux piped binding. Now, this gives the quilt that extra little pop of color. If you are new here, welcome, and please subscribe and hit the bell notification to know when I release a new video. So today we're going to talk about faux piped binding. Piped binding is where you add a layer of piping in with your binding. The faux pipe binding I'm going to show you is a little bit easier to do and not quite such an advanced thing. So anybody can really do this. So let's take a look at faux piped binding. So here is the piped binding, and it looks just like that little add of pop of color right there on the edge of your quilt. So how do you do this? Let me show you. So here is the binding that I have, and as you can see, it's two different colors, and this is my binding and this is my accent. So when I go to put this on the quilt, I'm going to machine sew it this way, oops, on the edge of the back of the quilt. And as you can see, I've got an extra little spot where I have, okay, here, right here. This is the back of the quilt, and you can see the back, you want your added color to be face up, facing you, so that when you go to fold it over, it's going to give you that nice little edge. Okay, so how do you do this? This requires two different colors. And what I do here, I have 1.5 inches for the actual binding itself, the color you're going to see, and you need 1 3/4 inches for your additional color. Now, there's two ways to put this together. And let me show you on this extra piece that I have here. So as you can see, I took all of my strips and joined them together, and then took all of my black strips and joined them together, and then sewed the two together. That's one way of doing it. And if you do it that way, make sure that these do not end up in the same place, because it makes for a lot of bulk right there where they join. So just kind of make sure that they're offset a little bit. The other thing that I do, or I have done, is I will take these two and just sew them together. Go ahead and sew them, and then treat them like my normal binding, so that once this is sewn, then do my my angles, my 45-degree angle, and then just add all those strips together. It just depends. I think this way is a little bit faster if you join these two together and then join your pieces together. This way took a little bit longer because I had to make sure that my joints were offset enough so that I didn't run into that. But if you just sew them together, then all of your joints are going to be even right here. Like if you were to join another one, it would be just like all of your joints would be in the same place. So it eliminates that. But if you're, it just depends on which way you want to do it. Okay, the next thing that I do then, as I've done here, I've attached it to the back of my quilt. And then once you've attached it completely to the back, and you've got your two ends, and you need to join your two ends, let me show you how to do that. So you're going to have these two ends join right here, and the important part is to make sure you get your color lined up. That's your binding color. And what I do, is, in order to get these to line up, I turn them over and I take my ruler with a 1/4-inch seam on it, take my air erase pen, and I just line my end of the binding up against that 1/4-inch seam and just draw a line. I draw this line, that way I know I'm going to have a good 1/4-inch seam on that, and I do the same for this side. Okay, once you've made your marks and you're going to attach these, what I do is I take a pin and I put it right on the stitching and that 1/4-inch seam that I made, so that when it comes out, it's right there on the edge. I do the same with the other one. So I want to make sure it's right there coming out at the seam. Now when I go to put these two together, I can match these up. And that's what I do. I match these up. I just stick that pin right in this, almost the same hole that the other one is, and then take this out. So I know that that's matched up perfectly, and I leave that pin in until I get it, till I get to the needle to that point, and then I take it out, because it's my best way to make sure that I have that matched up and lined up perfectly. So that's how you line these up, so that you get those seams to look like you can't even notice that that's where it's joined. So that's that part. Now, when you go to flip this over and you're going to start sewing it, which I will do so that you can see, go slow. And you want to match your thread color to the accent. Now, I don't know if you can see this. I used a different color on the back just so that you could see where I hit the edge of my binding. And I always like to make sure I just hit that edge, because it just locks that binding in place, and you know it's not going to go anywhere. If this seam is down in here, you know, sometimes I don't trust that. So I just want to make sure that that's good and stitched, so that it's picked up on both sides, front and back. So now let's take this to the machine, and let me show you just how to stitch this down, and including the corners. So I will show you how to pin it both ways, and then make sure you get a nice crisp point out here before you fold this over, because you want these 2 points to match. And if I'm coming at this from this direction, this way, I want to make sure that my top is folded over my bottom. If my bottom was folded over my top, this is a place where the machine could mess up and not push the material out of the way. So I always make sure, from whatever direction I'm coming from, my top one is going to be the one that I'm working on. And you just want pin that in place right as they are. You get a nice little match there, and then just keep sewing. Go slow, take your time, because you want to stitch right here in this channel. So let's go to the machine and I'll show you how to do this. As you can see, I am stitching between the gold and the black fabric. And if you want, you can use Wonder Clips as to hold your binding in place as you stitch. Go slow, take your time, and just control the way the fabric goes under the needle. And this takes a little bit of practice, but just like I said, take it slow at first. You don't have to go fast. If you don't have wonder clips, binder clips work really well to hold your binding in place. Now I'm just going to continue to stitch very slowly and accurately between the gold and the black binding. The other thing I didn't mention, make sure that you press your seam allowance to the black or to your binding color, which is the 1.5 inch strip. Always make sure you press it that way. That way, as you stitch your accent color down, you're only stitching through 2 layers of fabric. Now I should be coming to a corner here quickly, and you will see how I pinned my corner in. And it's important that you get those 2 points to match so you get a nice crisp corner. And sometimes, yeah, I'm coming close to the corner now, and you will see. Now I'm also using my stiletto here, and this kind of helps hold the fabric for me as it's feeding under the foot. Just very carefully and very slowly. Now you can see the pins, and I'm going to start to pull the pin out, and as the machine pulls the fabric away and I just keep my hand in one place, the pin comes right out. That way I know I'm never going to hit that pin with my needle. And see how my corners meet? And then right to the very corner and needle down and turn lift your pressure foot and turn the fabric. Once again, I pull my needle out or my pin out, and then pressure foots down and just start stitching again. And as I hold the fabric with my stiletto as it goes in, it just feeds a little nicer. If you don't have one, a seam ripper works really well too. So I'll stitch along here just rather slowly, and here's another corner for you to see, and this is how I've got it pinned. You can see how I've got it pinned, and as I'm coming down the length of the binding, and there's my corner, you just want to go very slowly and stitch right there between those 2 fabrics. Just keep moving along slowly until I get to my corner. Holding the fabric down with my finger and my stiletto. And I want to make sure that I've got it overlapping that seam that I actually stitched it on the back. Now I'm going to hold my pin as I continue to sew down to the corner. And once I get to the corner, my pin is free, my needle is down, and then I will turn the corner. There, I'll take the last pin out, and I will continue to stitch right there. And that's all there really is to this. It's just making sure you go slow, take your time.
And as you can see, there are my points. And you can see how nicely they match up. And everything fits together really well. And look at how pretty that is. It's just that little pop of color right there on the edge that gives you just a little bit more for your quilt.
So I hope you give this a try. It really does make a spectacular binding. And I really think that it's a simple, easy thing to do. Just remember, 1.5 and 1 3/4 sewn together carefully. Make sure that you have an accurate 1/4 inch seam when you join those two together. And then also make sure that when you put the binding on, you do have that accent color face up on the back, so that when you fold it over to the top, it will just be that little tiny line. So that's what I have for you today. I want to thank everybody for watching. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. And if you'd like to join a group of like-minded quilters, come over to Facebook. I have a Facebook group called Quilter Swarm, and you can see this finished quilt there. I will post pictures there and at Quilt Crafters Corner on Facebook. So thanks for joining me, and we'll see you again soon.